Hello there, this is Gabriel Custodiet of EscapeTheTechnocracy.com. I'm about to read an complimentary article that comes from my premium newsletter, which is called The Watchman's Torch, to give you an idea of what you're missing out on. This is a newsletter that covers physical privacy, digital privacy, geopolitics, cybersecurity, cryptocurrencies. It covers our travels around the world trying to use these strategies in different countries. All of it in an uncensored manner. I won't say any more about it. You're going to get an idea of what we're all about from this complimentary article. If you're interested in hearing more, just go to EscapeTheTechnocracy.com. Watchman's Torch, issue number 6, July 15th, 2025. The Orange Utopia, Bitcoin Business Failure. Have you ever stopped to think about how many businesses around you actually accept Bitcoin? With Bitcoin smashing record highs in price, you'd expect adoption to be off the charts. Earlier this year, during a short business trip to a major city in Kenya, I decided to take on a personal challenge to test this assumption. Fueled by curiosity and, admittedly, some excitement, I set out to map every Bitcoin-accepting business within a 5-mile radius of my temporary lodge in the city. Why 5 miles, you ask? Research shows most people are willing to drive that far for their favorite soda. And realistically, I don't think anyone would venture even that far just to shop at a Bitcoin-accepting merchant. But before jumping in and wandering aimlessly through the streets, I figured I'd need to lay down a few ground rules. First, I consciously chose to ignore gift card sellers. Sure, you can hop on platforms like BitRefill, buy an Amazon gift card, and argue somewhat creatively that Amazon accepts Bitcoin. But honestly, that feels like a huge stretch. While I won't deny the practical value of gift cards, more on that in an upcoming section, for this endeavor, they're not making the cut. Second, I made the deliberate choice to exclude businesses accepting multiple cryptocurrencies, or, brace yourself for the blasphemy, those that dare to accept other digital coins while rejecting Bitcoin. After all, to entertain anything less would be akin to sacrilege. So, fully committed to this maximalist mindset for the sake of this exercise, my mission became clear: to seek out the truly devoted, the Bitcoin purists, and see how far their allegiance to monetary salvation truly spreads. My first stop was a Bitcoin ATM conveniently located near my lodge. Excited to test it out, I headed over with the goal of withdrawing a small amount of cash. A quick check on their website had reassured me that no KYC, Know Your Customer, verification was required for transactions under $300 in the local currency. Everything seemed perfect, until the machine prompted me for a phone number. To the average person accustomed to handing over their personal data, this might seem trivial. But to anyone mindful of privacy, it's a red flag. Phone numbers can easily be used for what's known as soft KYC, a backdoor tactic to track and identify you. Not willing to compromise, I abandoned that ATM and crossed it off the list before heading to the next location. The next stop was a car dealership that, according to one of these Bitcoin-accepting websites, was willing to take Bitcoin for their cars. The owner was baffled to hear that they accepted Bitcoin, claiming it must have been a mistake and blaming Google Maps. He'd actually never heard of Bitcoin. The shop itself seemed shady, hidden behind tinted glass. Not wanting to stay there a minute longer to talk to this gentleman, I crossed it off my list and moved on. Not far from the car dealership is one of the local bazaars, a labyrinth of narrow alleys packed with shops selling all kinds of random items, from counterfeit brand-name clothing to carpets, lanterns, crocodile skins, and so on. Among the bustling stalls, I spotted one shop with a faded "We Accept Bitcoin" sticker beside the ubiquitous Visa and MasterCard logos. I went inside, looking to buy some cinnamon tea, asked if they accept Bitcoin, and they reassured me, yes sir, crypto, yes. After meticulously weighing my cinnamon tea to the exact gram, the vendor pulled out their smartphone, entered the amount, and presented me with a QR code. But disappointment quickly set in. The QR code led me to an exchange payment solution that didn't support my sacred self-custodial Bitcoin. I backed out, and the frustrated vendor wanted to know why I couldn't send crypto after specifically requesting to pay with it. In the end, I reluctantly handed over cash to settle the bill. By this point, hunger had taken over, and the lunch hour was nigh. I had planned for this, and, trusting my map, I headed to a restaurant listed as accepting Bitcoin. After studying the a la carte menu, I decided on ugali, a traditional maize flour dish. When I asked to pay in Bitcoin, the owner gave me a tired look and rolled his eyes. "We used to take it," he explained, "but no one ever used it, and the long transaction times caused too many issues. Sorry, sir. Disappointed, I paid the old-fashioned way. The afternoon didn't bring much improvement, and by now, I think you can imagine the kind of day I was having. Every ATM I came across demanded a phone number at least, and scattered along the way were faded stickers, remnants of a bygone crypto utopia, a quiet echo of a dream long gone. After nearly 11 hours traveling far beyond my initial 5-mile radius, I finally headed back to the lodge and sat next to a fire with a lion head above it to reflect on what this meant. There, in the late evening at the reception desk, was the attendant, his eyes fixed not on guests, but on a crypto exchange trading screen. We struck up a brief chat. I casually brought up Bitcoin, and at last, it happened. We did a trade. In exchange for some of my hard-earned Satoshis, I walked away with a handful of Kenyan shillings. But the next morning, the receptionist approached me, looking sheepish. "You made a mistake," he said. "The price went up." I smiled and dismissed his concern with a wave. "No," I said. "You made a good deal. I got the local money I needed, and that's all that matters." Many people don't fully grasp this, but Africa can be a risky place in ways you wouldn't expect. That day, I found myself wandering into areas I had no business being in, following this misguided map of Bitcoin merchants. The last time I did something like this in a Central American city, I was stopped by an old lady who told me, "Peligroso." These are places where the wrong move or even the wrong look could spiral into something far worse. Thankfully, I had a local guide who acted as a buffer and kept me safe. But the prospect of being the foreigner in shady spots, trying to exchange Bitcoin, was a gamble that could have gone terribly wrong. Even back at the lodge, the thought lingered. What if the hotel clerk was also not trustworthy? What if he had contacted a local gang, seeing the opportunity to extort a few bucks from the foreigner? The risks weren't negligible. If not for you in this newsletter, I would never have attempted this, nor would I recommend it to anyone else. Yes, I'm blaming you, the listener. Honestly, you could say I picked the wrong country for this experiment. I'd heard voices like Anita Posh championing the idea that Africa desperately needs Bitcoin. But the reality I encountered was a far cry from that utopian vision. Across my recent travels from Europe to Africa and back to Karachi, trying to engage with Bitcoin at the local level led to little progress and far more risk than it was worth. The dream of grassroots adoption remains just that, a dream. For now, the road ahead is far rougher than many would like to admit. How is my experience so wildly different from your typical Bitcoin or crypto influencer? Haven't you spent hours watching that British guy softly whispering in your ear about how he lives entirely off of Bitcoin? Max, if you're listening to this, it's not you, don't worry. The truth is, those influencers exist in a carefully curated bubble. The podcast and conference industrial complex. They hop from one crypto event to the next, surrounded by the same familiar faces, industry insiders and enthusiasts who already get it. In that world, living off Bitcoin isn't just doable, it's easy. But step outside of that bubble into the real world, and a different picture emerges. For the average person, the day-to-day pleb, the dream of a seamless Bitcoin utopia seems far out of reach. Worse, chasing it could lead you into risky, even dangerous situations, especially in environments where crypto infrastructure is patchy or misunderstood. And finally, when you trade with someone, you might encounter the ultimate fiat mindset. Their mood, rising or falling with the price fluctuations, lamenting that the value went up or down after the deal was done. Hey, thanks for listening. I could really use your help real quick. If you could share this episode with someone, engage with me, leave a review anywhere. This helps me to break the technocratic shadow banning that is happening with my brand. And of course, if you really want to escape the technocracy, go to escapethetechnocracy.com. Privacy tutorial series, books, newsletters, consulting, and of course, you can leave a donation. Thank you very much.